Hello and welcome to this week's journey on the road less traveled. Hey there, Gary L. here. Gigi's Boo's here. Hi, Gigi's Boo.
I said, hey, how is everybody?
Yeah, how is everybody out there? Just a wild bunch, I know. You watch that chat room over here at rlm-radio.com, the home of the road less traveled. Yeah, and it's an IRC chat, so you guys want to listen in and join into the talk along with a whole bunch of folks. You might want to go to the rlm-radio.com website. rlm-radio, one word.com website. And on the front page is a chat applet right under the channel selector. And you can put your name there, hit enter, and come on in. It's a great place to be. Yeah, and a whole bunch of folks in here. But Gigi's Boo, what you been up to?
Well, you name it, we've done it. We broke up a dog fight and a snake fight. And I don't know what all these rascally rabbits around here, they're just something.
Tell about that snake fight. That was interesting.
Okay. As you know, Gary and I have a black cocker spaniel who is a warrior in all sense. Great dog. He hates snakes, and we think the reason he hates snakes is because I'm a little afraid of poisonous snakes. I'm not too afraid of any other kind. But he knows that I don't like them. And so several years ago, he all but smothered a copperhead to death. And we had to kill it and get rid of it. But anyway, I heard a racket, ran outside, and we've got a new dog, and she's half pit and half lab. That's a great, it's a great mixture, as our vet said. Anyway, I heard him outside just making a terrible noise, and there I saw our black cocker, and he was standing on the head of a snake again. And the pit lab, she was just jumping and growling and barking, and I was yelling for somebody to come help me. And when I got close enough, I could tell the snake was just a little garter snake. Stays around here. It's a pretty good sized snake, so that meant it was an old snake. And the snake just had it. It really did. And so when the cocker moved back, of course it bit him on the leg, and he yelped, and he was done for. Snake was done for then, because the lab and the pit mix was just chewing it half in two. And so we had to go ahead and put it out of its misery, so to speak. And I told Gary, we don't kill snakes. I don't kill snakes. I run them off, but I don't want to kill them, because the chief of the rattlesnakes, the chief is a rattlesnake, and they'll come back. They'll send more back. There's a whole other story I can tell you about that. But so we laid it on a yellow man down the road and got that took care of. We had to put the snake and get it up and tie it up and put it in a bag and put it in a trash can. And of course, the black cocker spaniel is very theatrical, and he had to limp and he was just about beyond going. He couldn't walk. He was just limping and carrying on. So I came in and looked at it real good and put some peroxide on it, put some Neosporin ointment on it, and he was fine. The next day, he was up running on it. But boy, he took that for all it was worth. And then today, I was warming up some supper, and the lab pit decided she wanted it. She's only 7 months old, so she's a big dog, but she pulled everything off, and she was eating it. And her and the female Cocker Spaniel we have, they went toe to toe, and I just had to let them set the pecking order, and they did. So that's what took up my afternoon, was refereeing dog fights and telling them about the snakes, to leave the snakes alone. If they were good snakes, if they were bad snakes, not to mess with them, come get us and we'll get them out. That's what I've been doing.
Yep, everybody going for a Purple Heart, looks like this week.
Oh, yeah. Very much so.
Yeah, we'll have to put them in for Purple Hearts for their battles and battle injuries and so forth. Yeah, anyway, over here in the chat room, we have a great group. I was hoping some new folks might jump in. They should. What's wrong with you? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, firefighting. Paul Bunyan, firefighting up there. Anyhow, say hello to all those folks out there. We'll speak to the royalty first. Those are the people who have crowns. You notice that, Gigi's Boo?
Yeah.
See the royalty in the chat room? We got Asmo and the Bot Barman and Beth Z and Cowboy Tech and Grimner, King Grimner, Queen Moose Girl, and Queen Kate. Everybody in the... Barman has closed the connection. What? What happened, Barman? Okay, Alias is here. Actually, I was doing a little studying, which I probably should have done a long time ago. But Alias here, connecting in from, looks like Australia. AD, I should say. Then Beetle and Chalcedony, and otherwise known as Thesaurus. And Chloe, also known as Weedy. And Dakota, known as Dakota. And Flash Somebody, the German URL, the chat cool people use at Real Liberty Media. That's right. He got that right. And Frumpy, and IB Don C, and IB Don C is an Adium user. Interesting. And you have JJS999, Jasper the Fud. Jasper's here. Paul Bunyan, he's here. Rob Works is showing up in the chat room. Trust No One, a.k.a. Rome's, shows up. Vinny, here's Vinny. Vinny likes to go to the Appalachian Trail. He might be interested in this news, or, well, I guess this feature story that you're going to share in a minute, Gigi's Boo. He likes to do that kind of camping and stuff and hiking. You might want to go out there where this is all about. And there's Hal behind the woodshed is here. Bitcoin Bob is here. Dima, also known as Dima. Java Doctor's here. Jehovah's here. Wanatako, Kozu. Model Motion Bot, MMBot. Nenson Dubois, North Force, Pawn Sauce, Sock Puppet, Sock Puppet, Stats Bob, Tip Bob, Vil, who is unknown, Phantom, who is the Phantom. So what else would you expect, Gigi's Boo? There's all that crowd in the Real Liberty Media chat room. And if you're not over here, I recommend that you do get here. That's not a suggestion. But anyway... a kinder and gentler chat room, isn't it, Gigi's Boo?
Mm-hmm.
As long as you don't kick up a fuss. It's a completely uncensored chat, or 99.99% uncensored. Of course, it's always possible for someone to go completely bonkers and off the hook. I think I've seen it happen maybe once or maybe twice, and they'd have to be given the boot. But it's very, very rare, a very rare occurrence. So, anyhow, yeah, Cowboy Tech says hello to all the royalty out there. Yes, it'll be tea time later on, and you can check in later. But anyhow, Gigi's Boo, what's a story you discovered here?
Which one you want to talk about? What you want me to talk about?
That one that you found where the people go swimming.
Oh, okay. You want me to go there? Okie-dokie.
Yeah.
I found this very interesting. I kind of like the unknown, things of the unknown. And all this was supposed to take place. All these paranormal swimming holes are in California. And they said he'd kind of make you feel like you were in the Twilight Zone. And I found that very odd. They say that there's 10 that you really need to see. Now, the 10th one on the list is, I can't even say it, Aguacalinte Hot Springs in San Diego. And they say that visitors really have enjoyed this location, considering most of the time it's fun, but there have been some reports of some eerie paranormal activity. And they say that the water has a mind of its own. Well, which I believe, because they have proven that water does have memory. Me and Gary's discussed that a lot. Apparently, this swimming hole has a hissing sound. Now, a lot of people say that it could be natural, maybe from the actual steam or whatever. And others say it's water itself warning the bathers to get out before they're boiled alive. It's believed to be haunted by ancient angry spirits. And witnesses say that you get the feeling of being drawn away from the natural source. And that's what makes the spirits angry. And one girl ended up with a burn mark that looked like the word death. And they said she's never went back. Now, who can blame her? I wouldn't either. 9th on the list is Bass Lake, Point Reyes. It's considered to be one of the most popular watering holes in Northern California. And some swear that they'll never return. Now, this is the one that's really kind of scary-like. They said children that had swum there were actually attacked by nasty spirits who took over their body. One family advised that their youngest son, a 4-year-old, was waiting with the grandmother when she began to scream at him. Witnesses reported that the face was twisted into an unholy snarl, and he was looking up at her like he wanted to hurt her. And the other children reacted the same way. They all fled. They said it was so terrifying that the children needed an exorcism. And they said days after, they were behaving like demons. Now, you can take that for what it's worth. I don't know. Aztec Falls, Lake Arrowhead. There's a lot of people enjoy cliff diving in this area. And, but there's a victim who drowned here. And it says it likes nothing better than to drag people down with her. She's been seen as a beautiful Native American woman, and she draws men close until she slips under the water. And they're so transfixed by her beauty that they slip under with her. And one older man advised that he couldn't help himself, but once he was under the surface, she revealed her true self. He saw an apparition of a decaying corpse, gripping onto him and dragging him further down. When his friend dragged him back up, he had scratches up and down his arms, and he was screaming. Red Rock Pool, Santa Barbara. In searching for places to hike and swim, you are in the social. Know that the locals warn about strange entities appearing in the dark, and in the dark hours of the day, like blood-covered ghosts rising out of the water. It said you can smell the blood before they appear. One woman reports she ignored it until she saw a red mess floating above the surface. She scrambled to get out every time she went over to the banks. A scarlet spirit blocked her way. When she finally got out with the help of her husband, she was covered in blood. Thinking that she had hurt herself, they washed her with clean water, but no wounds had been found. Number 6, Mad River, Neyland. This is a pretty spot, kind of a favorite a lot of vacationers. That says that if you go there, though, you'll lose your mind if you swim. They said some tourists were horrified and started running about screaming after swimming. They reported terrible visions. A Chinese man spoke of most disgusting images of torture, like human body parts being dragged through the mud. and then cut up with sharp rocks. Locals believe the swimming holes are cursed, and the weaker you are, the more likely you're to be affected. And I'm going to have to break here 1 second, okay?
Okay. Yeah, we have a phone call coming in that doesn't want to give up. It's, that's one of my pet peeves in life, but that's why they have voice messages. Unless someone's dying or a nuclear attack is underway, I think they could probably wait till later. Okay. For those who can't wait for you to return a phone call. You okay, boo-boo?
Can you hear me now? Can you
hear me now? You.
I'm sorry about that. That was a slight emergency. Big Bear Lake, that's on the West Shore Beach of Big Bear Lake. There's some disagreements about how the ghost children first arrived here, which is among the best Southern California lakes you can swim in. Some people say they were killed by an evil woman, and then some believe that these children were abandoned and drowned in the lake. They appear as innocent lost children until you get closer. An old man says that he saw a little girl crying at the edge of one of the swimming holes. He went over to see if he could help find her mother, and when he turned around, she had large, dark eyes and jagged teeth. We talked about them black-eyed children one time, and she said in a dark voice, "I'm dead, old man, and you will be too soon." Number 4 was Three Sisters Falls, Pine Valley. They say that you can hear women weeping when you swim underwater. Now, I don't know what in the world you could hear a woman weeping underwater, but they say you can. And a local man advises never to do so, as grief will become so powerful that you'll end up doing the best to surface again. And if you don't, you'll join those weeping women forever. Number 3, the Bridge to Nowhere. That's in East Fork San Gabriel River. If you have fond memories you'd like to hang on to, don't go swim at this part of the river. Visitors report having amnesia after spending time there. They can't even recognize their families' faces. One young man advises that he felt like his mind was being erased by a dark entity who was stealing them. He said to this day he still hasn't recovered his memories. And when he's shown photos and videos of his past, he reports that the entities take memories to feed on. So that might be so. They've been known to do that. Tuolumne River. The faint of heart need to stay away from these waterfalls. They say it has some of the best swimming you'll find, but witnesses say you'll see red eyes staring out at twilight. I don't know where people get this. I really don't. One visitor reports that she was swimming and looked up into the falls and saw 3 sets of evil red eyes staring out. When she screamed to her friends, they swam over and saw them also, and they heard a wailing sound. She said that when she started home, she could still see the eyes in the reflection of the windows, even though her friends didn't. So take that for what it's worth, too. I wonder about these swimming holes now. I could say these haunted places, but swimming holes, I don't know. The only one I know of is in North Carolina, but this one is Rock Pool Swimming Hole. There's rocks under the water, but some people say, and the visitors say after dark, they become something more sinister. It seems that people are being bitten by what they think are skulls with sharp teeth. A ghost hunter brought a headlight for his encounter. He reports that he felt teeth nipping at his ankles, so he showed the light down and saw several skulls bobbing around his ankles. Even though he's shaking like a leaf and feeling the pain, he got up and got out. Now, spirits can take a lot of forms, but I don't know. I do know that I don't think it's the actual water that does it. I think it's the location where the water is, because water is used for purification. I just don't see the actual water doing that. I think it's the area where it might be. Something tragic could have happened or something, of that sort. That's just my 2 cents worth on it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about those stories, Gigi's Boo.
I don't either. I was kind of...
What do you know about that? Of course, maybe a lot of these places could use the advertising.
Probably.
Hard to tell. Hard to tell about that. I dropped it in the chat room. And, yeah. What did Grimner do? Oh, yeah, agua caliente.
He gave me the...
Yeah, hot water.
That means hot water, yeah.
I stay in agua caliente. And so does Akis.
We were talking about strange things happen. We went up, and a bunch of us went up to a place in North Carolina, and it was sliding rock. And you go up and you pay 50 cents, and you get up on this big rock, and then you slide, and you talk about cold water. That water is really cold up there in those mountains. And you can slide all day long for 50 cents. And so we went up with a church group, and so they told us, they said, go ahead and went over to Looking Glass Falls in the National Forest. And we were hiking a little bit. It was 2 day. By the way, let me say it was a 2-day trip. Went to Looking Glass Falls, and then we went to the Sliding Rock, then went to Looking Glass Falls. And Looking Glass Falls is kind of a rugged place. But anyway, we hiked down, and it's me, about 16 of us, 16, 17 of us, and my 2 sisters. And we were walking around, and all of a sudden, nightfall came on us before we could get out. And, of course, a lot of the girls were crying. I was trying to tell them, shut up. I said, just be quiet. They'll find us if you'll just be quiet. Well, they wanted to move. I said, y'all don't need to be moving around in the dark. Y'all step on copperheads. Rattlesnakes will let you know. But those copperheads, they're ill-tempered rascals. Anyway, they said, it's getting a little chilly, and we need to do it. And I said, well, stand where you are and run. Just run where you are, and let's all hug each other, and everything. So, it was, let me say, it was kind of a long night, and they wanted to move. I said, y'all not moving nowhere. I said, because I could hear the falls. I didn't know if we were above the falls or below it, but I seem to think now we were below the falls because it was loud. And so, as the sun came up the next morning, we kind of stayed where we were, and I said, they'll begin to get us there. They'll send out search parties. They're probably looking now. But anyway, as the sun came up, I told them, I said, everybody get a stick and beat on the sticks and start hollering. And we did. And when they come to get us, we were cold. And my mother kept saying, my girls know what they're doing. You don't have to worry about my girls. We're Indian. My girls will know what to tell them to do if they'll just listen to them. And one of the gentlemen said, yeah, but that's the thing. Are they going to listen to them? And my oldest sister told one of them, she said, stop that S. And she used the S word. And one of the young men said, we're a church group. And she said, we'll just have to ask Jesus to forgive me. We laughed about that. But that was a very, very cold night. And it was a night that taught people a lot of lessons. And it was a lot of fun, and it's funny to think back on. Because I told them, I said, I told you they'd be here. No sooner the sun come up, it started warming up, and then we could hear them hollering. That's when we began to beat on the sticks and everything. And I told them the first thing I wanted was a cup of coffee, and we got it too. But anyway, I got off on that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gary.
That's all right. That's all right. Anything, a good story is always worth the time. Anyway, let's just transition into some public service announcements, Gigi Boo.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, like this one. I think a lot of people probably find this interesting. That doggone olive oil that you buy is probably not real. A lot of you probably heard that before, but how about if I give you a list? I give you a list of names. 70% of olive oil available in stores in the United States has actually been cut with cheaper, nastier oils, meaning they're fake. They go along with the fake news and the fake advertisers. Okay. Let's see. They say it's been slowly infiltrating the olive oil market and corrupting one of the products that we all know as a healthy, don't like that word, go skip it, a healthy option for one of Europe's secrets to longevity. That's right. 7 of the biggest olive oil manufacturers in the United States have been cutting their products with inferior oils, such as sunflower or canola oil. And that's in order to drive the profits. Of course. What other reason are these crooked things ever done? And it's not too dissimilar that in 2008, 400 Italian police officers participated in a major crackdown called Operation Golden Oil, which resulted in the seizure of 85 oil farms who were adding a certain percentage of chlorophyll to sunflower and canola oil and selling it as extra virgin olive oil. And these busts prompted the Australian government to investigate their own market. And indeed, after testing, zero of the Australian farms were given a 2012 certification for being pure olive oil. Crooks everywhere, Gigi's Boo. Okay.
Sure are.
So, with all this in mind, the University of California decided to carry out studies on 124 imported brands of extra virgin olive oil, and they found that over 70% failed the test. And here are the brands, some of which you'll probably recognize. Pompeian, Bertolli, Colavita, Star, Sasso, Antica Badia, Primadonna, Carapelli, Mazzola, everybody knows Mazzola, right? Filippo Barrio, Safeway, well, get this one, you'll love this one, Whole Foods. I'll say that one again, Whole Foods. Carapelli, thought we said that, we did. Coricelli and Mazzetta. They all failed. Now, on the bright side, we have a short list of ones that passed, and according to this study, can be trusted. Corto Olive, Ottavio, Omaggio, Bariani Olive Oil, Lucchini, Kirkland Organic, Lucero, Olea Estates, McAvoy Ranch Organic, Cobram Estate, and California Olive Ranch. Well. There you go. And we'll drop that in the chat room for all you guys who like to manage your cholesterol by using olive oil, which is a good option. Peanut oil is too. But there you go. There's your list. If you made the list, you probably want to get off of it. What do you think, G.D.? Think they're crooks?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And on that same note, a slightly different direction, here are 16 restaurants, okay, that have the most antibiotics in their meat. All right, everybody likes to know about that, right? We really don't need all those additional antibiotics in our diets, so let's watch out for some of these places. The following list is a recent collaborative report which ranks the 25 biggest U.S. fast food and their restaurant chains regarding their policies and practices when it comes to the use of antibiotics. We'll get back to who actually passed, and that's a very short list. According to CDC, the American Academy of Pediatrics believes that the excessive use of antibiotics in animals can make bacteria like Salmonella, E. coli, and others stronger and resistant to drugs, even though they were previously able to destroy them. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it?
It's true. That's true. That happens.
Okay, Here's the drum roll. I should have had one queued up, but I didn't. These restaurant chains got Fs. That is A, B, C, D, E, F's grades in the case of antibiotic use. And the list is alphabetically, kinda. Arby's, Applebee's, Buffalo Wild Wings, Burger King, Chili's, Dairy Queen, Denny's, Domino's Pizza, Dunkin' Donuts, Jack in the Box, Little Caesars, IHOP, KFC, Sonic, Olive Garden, and Starbucks. There's 16 that fell off the list. And
Starbucks. Did you say Starbucks?
I said Starbucks.
I wouldn't buy from Starbucks. I got a cup of coffee there one time. Do you remember that? When my sister got me a cup, and I was sick as a dog, vomiting.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, they have the nastiest coffee for the most expensive prices. So if you want to be somebody, spend your money at Starbucks. Wow. And also you can have antibiotics. Now, let's get to the two. The list of two are the only chains that scored an A. And some of you probably might have guessed one of them anyway. But Panera Bread is one, and Chipotle Mexican Grill is the other. And we've talked about Chipotle in the past, about how they have really altered their systems to only provide GMO-free and organic products. Good on them.
Aldi's is pretty good about that too.
Well, yeah, it's a grocery store. Yeah. But these are fast food or restaurant chains that we're talking about. Okay, we'll drop that link into the chat. So if you're one of those companies and you're mad, don't be mad at us. Be mad at healthyfoodhouse.com and CDC and University of California, I think it was. You get mad at those people for blowing the whistle on your crooked asses. What do you think, Gigi Spook? What do you think about that list?
I think it's bad. I'm real disappointed in those people with the olive oil.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because, I'm always using olive oil.
Mm-hmm. So now you have to be careful which brands you buy.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're watching your cholesterol levels. That's real important. Yeah, it makes you wonder a little bit. It makes you wonder if at some point some enterprising bar member might find a wife or husband of a victim of a stroke or a heart attack linked to trans fats, lipids, and find out they were misled into using the wrong brand of oil, thinking that would help with their cholesterol issue. Makes you wonder, doesn't it, Gigi's Boo? Now, enterprising bar member might want to think about that. Could get interesting. So anyway, let's talk about some other public notice, really. And this kind of works into what Hal was talking about in his show Behind the Woodshed, 3 to 5 on reallibertymedia.com. And talking about the geoengineering issue. But did you know, Gigi's Boo, that there is a group out there who collects water samples and has them independently tested in different parts of the country to find out the levels of aluminum, or as the English say, aluminium, barium, strontium is in the water. And I have a whole laundry list, and I'll just touch on a few. Let's see. Let's look at Queens, New York. Now, lots of you might say there are lots of reasons why in Queens, New York, the water is a little bit weird. However, 170 parts per million of aluminum, 7.3 barium, 18.3 strontium. No, I'm sorry, it's not parts per million, it's 170 micrograms per liter. Okay, let's say that again. Micrograms per liter, all these are. Okay, what else we got here? Oh, you got to go to Plainsfield, Illinois. Now, this will kind of negate the doubts about Queens, New York being an unusual place for water when you find that the micrograms per liter of aluminum is 433 in Plainfield, Illinois. During the time frame, the sample time was 1/11/2017. Barium 7.8, strontium 7.6. Oh, here's a good one. Another one out of Queens, New York. Now this time they tested the snow, and from December 21st, 2016. Okay, this is a test of the snow. 1,480 micrograms per liter of aluminum. 1480. And of course, when snow melts, what happens to it? Barium 63.3, strontium 15.0. Oh, near and dear to my heart, Radford, Virginia. Little independent city out in southwest Virginia, not far from where I grew up. 404 micrograms per liter of aluminum, 4.7 of barium, and strontium at 2.3, and that was from November 30th, 2016. Let's see. Looks like that snow measurement might hold the record, although Maryland snow, Baltimore, another snow report, interesting, shows 1,000 micrograms per liter of aluminum. Where's the date? March 2016. So anyway, I'm going to drop this link in. I just tried to hit on some of the more interesting ones. I say interesting very cautiously. I suppose it's interesting. But at any rate, here we go. We'll drop this website called zerogeoengineering.com. And for those of you who have any doubts, it lists shows the independent laboratories. So if you feel so motivated, for example, McCampbell Analytical Incorporated in Pittsburgh, California, is one of those labs. And then you have another one, Basic Laboratory Incorporated, and so forth. So if you feel so inclined, you could always have your water tested. I'm not sure how much it costs to do that, but it might be interesting to see. What about that, Gigi's Boo?
That sounds good to me.
I'm sorry? What was that?
I said that sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's just so much stuff going on. People don't understand. They're completely under attack and have been. They just ain't paying no attention, I reckon, as they say where I'm from. Okay, a couple other things that I tripped over. Something near and dear, I think, to everyone's heart here, certainly, is censorship and the ongoing conversation, if you will, about, is this being censored or is that being censored and blah, blah. Well, actually, there are a couple of interesting discoveries that prove pretty clearly that, at least in a couple of venues, there is an active and ongoing censorship program. One area we'll talk about is YouTube. Of course, many of you already know that YouTube is hemorrhaging sponsors. Sponsors are running away from YouTube content. As a result, YouTube has tightened up on their monetization policies for videos that have existed out there and had been monetized for a long time now are suddenly not allowed to be monetized. Okay, but a really interesting way, if you do have a YouTube account, now here's an interesting way to determine whether or not at least some of your videos are being basically made invisible. Okay, it's pretty slick. I think we already talked about the fact that Twitter has a system where they can ghost your tweets. You can see them, but no one else can. Interesting with that. But anyway, you can go to your YouTube channel, okay, and draw the slider all the way to the bottom, and you will notice at the bottom the language selection. It's a fire truck. The dogs will be going crazy. You'll discover the language selection, the content location, and just next to that.
Listen.
There they go. And right next to that, you'll see where it says restricted mode. Now, you can make that either. Oh, Lord.
You're singing in harmony.
Lord have mercy. You can make that either off or on. And then you have history and then you have help. Okay, so here. See what we have to deal with. Okay. You can change that restricted mode. Go to your channel, okay? And first thing you do before you do this, actually, is you go to your channel you'll select all your videos, so you can see all your videos on one page, basically. And now go down and change your restricted mode and turn it on. Refresh the page and see how many of your videos just disappeared. And these videos will be disappeared without any notice of any problem, apparently. At least that's what I'm noticing from the people I've had test this. So they can make it basically, when you upload a video, you can make it unlisted, okay, or you can make it private. Now, if you make it unlisted, it acts exactly the same way as this does when you turn on restriction. So effectively, what's going on is they'll unlist some of your videos if it's set in the restricted mode. Interesting little tidbit there for people. Here's a video that actually, the guy who discovered this, and there you go. He'll tell you all about it. Okay, now, speaking of censorship, here's a Reddit group that does nothing but track Google censorship. Okay? Now, we've talked in the past about the Google censorship, how fun that is, and you can test this for yourself. If you have a Google account and you're logged into your Google account, run a search on whatever, a Google search. Okay, look at the first 25, 50 returns. Now log out of your account, refresh the screen, run the same exact search, and you're going to see entirely different returns. Entirely different. So they're at least tailoring the returns to your activity, which means some things that you can see right up front, other things they'll bury. So kind of an interesting little thing that's going on with that. GG boo. And there's the Reddit group, Google Censorship. So you guys want to take a look at that. Kind of fun. This one guy talks about not quite a censorship, but there's a strange difference in search results. And also a discussion about Google censors results when connected through McDonald's Wi-Fi. What else might be interesting? Google antitrust investigations in Europe. So apparently the Europeans are looking into Google in an antitrust manner. Doesn't surprise me at all. Okay, Gigi's Boo, what else we got?
I think you're going to talk about them Sumerians, ain't you?
The
Sumerians?
Yeah, I kind of got that on the tail end of the tab list here. What time we got? A little bit of time. I might be able to blow through all these. Let's see. How many of you folks are familiar with the number 37 as being significant? This was a first for me, and in the newscientist.com, I came across this article from December 2014. And it's titled, Is the Answer to Life, the Universe, and Everything the Number 37? Now, from our past shows, we have an interest in numbers. And Mark, we have an interest in numbers and how they tie into things like sacred geometry and Pythagorean concepts and all that sort of thing. So the number 37 was kind of a new revelation to me, but it's based on an unorthodox hypothesis by a scientist by the name of Maxim Makukov. He's a cosmologist and astrobiologist at the Fezenkov Astrophysical Institute in Almaty, Kazakhstan. He basically says that that certain numbers reveal that all terrestrial life came from outer space. Not only that, he contends it was planted on Earth by intelligent aliens billions of years ago. It was seeded with what Makukov calls an intelligent-like signal, a signal that's too orderly and intricate to have occurred randomly. The signal, he says, is in our genetic code. Highly preserved across cosmological timescales, it has been waiting there like an encrypted message. All the teeming varieties of life on Earth, from kangaroos and daffodils to albatross and us, carry it within them. And now Makukov, along with his mentor, mathematician Vladimir Sherbak of the Al-Farabi Kazakh National University in Almaty, claims to have cracked it. They say the answer to life, the universe, and everything is 37. They see that number 37 existing within the DNA of everything. And, of course, as scientists do, they come in with a variety of different statistical models to suggest that it's the odds of that happening naturally are like 1 in 10 bazillion or something like that. So the number 37 showing up in all the DNA. Obviously, this is a very controversial topic, as you might imagine. But it's, a thought-provoking one nonetheless. Something for open-minded people to examine, Right, Gigi's Boo?
That's exactly right.
So I got to looking around a little bit about this number 37. What does it show up anywhere else? Actually, it does. Quite a bit. It's considered, it's hard to explain, it actually shows up within the creation holograph, which is the sum of Genesis 1.1. Okay, and that's how numerologists and you're getting into Kabbalah and all that. It actually is called the heart of wisdom. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth, Genesis 1.1, which breaks into the prime number 37 when you break it down numerically. Just a fascinating thing, and it goes on and on. Lots and lots of, and this goes back to the Kabbalah, the Jewish Kabbalah. For example, it says the number 37 appears with exceedingly high frequency in the power set of Genesis 1.1. A power set is defined as the set of all subsets of a set. If I was able to follow that. And it goes on into the mathematical intricacies of determining all that. So if you're a numbers person, like I am anyway, you can find that another rabbit hole to launch yourself into. Very fascinating, along with Pythagoras. Let's see what we got for time. Okay. Let's go into the Sumerians, and this has to do with numbers as well. But Gigi's Boo and I had a conversation about this. We've talked about this before. All these ancient people and the Native Americans. Where in the world did they learn all this stuff? Gigi's Boo, where did it come from?
I said it came from whoever came here and taught them.
Yeah, that's Occam's razor would suggest that that's probably the right answer.
Yeah.
When you look at it.
And it could be God, whatever you conceive him to be.
Or God's representatives.
That's right.
Yeah, whatever you conceive them to be. Okay, a lot of people find it curious that we divide hours into 60 minutes and the day into 24 hours. Why not a multiple of 10 or 12? Base 10 or base 12? Because the inventors of time did not operate on a base 10 or a duodecimal base 12 system, but they actually operated on a sexagesimal base 60 system. And who might those folks be in? It were the ancient Sumerian innovators who first divided the movements of the heavens into countable intervals. So having done that, they found that 60 was the perfect number, because it can be divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15, 20, and 30 into equal parts. Moreover, during that time, the ancient astronomers believed that there were 360 days in a year, which makes sense. Obviously, the number 60 fits neatly into that. However, Sumerians didn't last. For more than 5,000 years, the world has remained committed to the delineation of time. So the Sumerians went away, and they were replaced by the Akkadians and then by the Mesopotamians. But over 5,000 years, the base 60 concept didn't alter. And this article goes much more deeply into that for those people, again, interested in this kind of thing. It does talk about the Sumerian invention of the sexagesimal system. Talked about why that was. worked with numbers, with the number 60 and its multiples. So they looked for things, and it's worked out for them. The remainders did not appear to have repeating decimals if they did have a remainder, which was also important. The concept that the Sumerians apparently could not process at the time was non-repeat or unending decimal points. And then, of course, it goes on to say that the Akkadians and the Amorites, known as the Babylonians, eventually took over the area, but everything stayed the same. But it's a pretty interesting little article for those who might have an interest in that kind of stuff. So, sometimes you just have to draw from a lot of different sources and connect a whole lot of different lines, connect a whole lot of different dots, rather, and you come up with some interesting stuff. Okay, Gigi's Boo, we've got about 3 minutes left. I have that announcement to make, but other than that...
It's been a good show.
What you got?
I don't have nothing but barking dogs.
They're barking?
Barking dog.
Yeah, the fire truck goes by and they go plumb wild.
They do.
And maybe they need to be
fired.
Fired.
They howl in unison. They'll howl. One will start, the other one will be like an echo. Yeah, they got to all howl to see who can make the biggest noise.
Yeah. Okay, one thing I want to make an announcement before we leave. Through our association with Suspect Sky, of course, a lot of you guys know that, and the Suspect Sky YouTube channel, we have managed to make an arrangement with the Minnesota State MUFON organization. And that arrangement will be to live stream a presentation by a lady by the name of Paula Harris, and the legacy of Colonel Philip Corso. Now, you guys out there who follow the UFO the Roswell incident and so forth, you'll be familiar with Colonel Corso's work and then his book, The Day After Roswell, and his his appearances variously on different shows, coast to coast, so forth. Well, Paula Harris was very, very close with Colonel Corso and wrote some books and has actually quite a list of books and presentations that are related to Colonel Corso. So she's going to be live and at the Minnesota MUFON, actually in a Minnesota Public Access Channel studio on Saturday, this coming Saturday, April 8th, at 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And we'll be live streaming that on Suspect Sky's YouTube channel. Now, I do realize that conflicts with another show here on Real Liberty Media, so it'll be up to, folks, what you want to do. So, but we won't presume to try to preempt anyone's show, so it'll be presented over on the Suspect Sky channel. And, of course, more than happy for anyone who has an interest in that to tune in at April 8th, 2017, 2 to 5 p.m. Central Time, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. So, anyway, that's the announcement there, Gigi's Boo. And with that, we're just about out of time.
We sure are.
Yeah, just about out of time. I'll drop that teaser, I guess you'd say, into the chat. So anybody wants to watch that, they certainly can. All right, that's about it. All I have. What do you got to say at the end here, Gigi's Boo?
Well, I love you all big to my heart, and remember to always take the road less traveled. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, that's right. Always take the road less traveled. Enjoy your time that you spend with us, and we're very thankful that you do. So look forward to seeing you next week. Same bat time, same bat station. Take care. We'll see you.